Jennifer Foster, one of the premier investor coaches of South Florida with SmartPlan Investing. We have offices in Jupiter, Florida, and also in Atlanta, Georgia. And my goal is to help eliminate confusion, to help those who are watching this video to gain some critical insights, and that way you can sit back and watch your wealth grow and live out your purpose. Recently on my social media, I posted, how can I help you? I wanted to ask those who are following me, what are the things that you need help with when it comes to finances, whether it's just money, budgeting, or even saving and investing. I received such an outpour of amazing questions, and so everyone who contributed, I want to thank you. And today I'm going to start a series where I'm answering these questions. One of the questions that I received was, how do you even think about saving when you're having maybe even just difficulty keeping up with your regular needs from week to week? Because we're in the middle of a pandemic, a lot of people do not have, a very secure income. Maybe it's been disrupted. If you're paid hourly, I know as a single mom, when my daughter would get sick, if I had to miss a day or go to the doctor, that was hours I didn't get paid for. And so, for those of you who really struggle with this, if you're not paid hourly or your income, maybe you work for yourself and your income has been disrupted, now how do I continue to budget for those things? So there is a simple formula when we're looking at creating a budget. So I'm just going to lay that out first before we move on to the second part. So the first part is we want to look at about 50% of our budget should be assigned to our needs. So think about your shelter, your home, whether you own or rent, your car insurance. Most likely you need a telephone. So any of those needs, insurance for yourself, health-wise, utilities, things like that, those are your needs. The second part of your budget could go towards wants. So 30% of your budget could be assigned towards wants. What are some of the wants? Okay, let's say shopping, eating out, going to concerts, participating in different hobbies. So anything that isn't considered a need would be considered a want. The last part of our budget that we want to look at will be for savings and investing. So 20% we want to work towards to put that towards savings and investing. So now you have your 50, 30, 20 formula. The first thing I do is write out a budget. And you can go to www.richchickjen.com and you can download, just by clicking on the budget tab, you can download a free spreadsheet where you can create your own budget. But if you have like Gmail, there's Google Docs, you can download a sheet. Sheets is like an Excel spreadsheet you can use for free through Gmail. So you can do it there as well. So some form of a written budget, and then I'm going to talk about how I would suggest doing the written part of your budget. I would start with all of the expenses that you have that are fixed. Like if you have a car payment or insurance, your rent or your mortgage payment, any of those things that you pay on a monthly basis, or even if it's a bi-weekly or whatever, as long as you know that it is a fixed cost or close to fixed cost and it doesn't really adjust very much. Like you would still include your electric and gas and things like that, although it does change slightly. I always try to round up a little bit. So think about what's the highest you've ever paid and maybe round it up a little bit. That's always helpful. So go ahead and start with writing out the cost for all of your needs, your fixed costs that you can't change at this point. That's just what they are. Now that you're finished writing out all your needs, there are things that are variable. It's things we spend money on that we might need, like toilet paper, paper towels, things like that. But these are things that we have a little bit of flexibility about when we buy them, how much we buy, and the cost that we spend on them, right? So on the next part of your budget, I want you to write out all of the things that you will spend money on and kind of round them up a little bit. That's very helpful. And if you are struggling with coming up with like how much exactly am I spending on, say, toiletries or personal care, what I would do is open a second tab and go through your bank statements and any credit card statements, and at the top put like personal care, toiletries, birthdays, put in different categories along the top. And as you go through your statement in each category, I want you to put the dollar amount. And so you'll have an opportunity when you fill it all out to add those totals up at the end. I like to do that for at least 3 months, but if you want to get really sharp on your budget, is go back and do like a whole year. So I know that's a big challenge, so you don't have to do the whole thing to get started, but maybe 3 months, 6 months, get an idea exactly how much you're spending and where, and then put that into your budget. There's one more part of our expenses that we want to be very particular about, and that is, yes, the dreaded D word, debt. While it's probably already in your budget under, your expenses, I also would like in your spreadsheet for you to create a special tab for debt. And I'd like you to do 2 categories, short-term debt and long-term debt. And in your short-term debt is going to be anything that you have to pay off or plan to pay off within 12 months. The other one, long-term, is anything kind of like your mortgage or car payment that may be more than a year to pay it off. And then I'd like you to put different titles across the top for what we're going to put in these various columns. So the first column, you just want to put who is it payable to? Who do you owe? Student loan debt, maybe a car payment, your mortgage company, any other thing that you've incurred debt on, credit cards that you don't pay off the balance every month, that would be considered the debt. Then original loan, right? Original loan, because I want you to know how much you first incurred. So original loan is really important. The next tab will say weekly, because when you're doing a budget, you're going to break it down. How much do you budget out weekly? How much for the second column? After that would be monthly, and then annually. So how much are you paying weekly, monthly, annually? And then I want you to put the rate. So what is the interest rate on this debt that you're paying? Put that there. The next one will be your payoff date. So what I mean by that is like your mortgage, it's going to be paid off when? There are some debts that some people incur. It could be an interest-free loan for a certain period of time. So it's important that you make sure you know what that payoff date is. In fact, I'd make it even earlier than that, so you make sure to pay it off beforehand, because if you're even 1 day late on that, you will get charged the interest for the whole time that you incurred that debt. So you want to make sure if you have any of those deals like 5 years no interest, you make sure that you've paid that bill off by that payoff date. And last, do a column for balance, because what I want you to be able to see is your original loan amount and your balance, so that you can watch as that balance comes down, because that's going to give you so much encouragement to get yourself out of debt. Now, I'm going to do a whole nother video where we're going to dive into debt, how to pay down debt, how to negotiate debt, all that kind of stuff we'll talk about later, but just make sure that you don't forget to add a tab for debt. For savings and investing, we really want to focus on striving for 20%. Now, if you're not in that space, it's okay. We're going to work towards getting you there. Be careful not to forget what you might already be contributing to an employer-sponsored plan. So if you're employed, check your paycheck and see if you're contributing, and make sure to count that in your budget. Now, with savings, we really want to strive towards, and if you can put this in your budget and you don't have any savings at all, striving towards saving up $1,000. Now, $1,000 can simply be done in 3 months. Believe it or not, it won't hurt that bad. That's only $333 a month, which for some might seem a lot, but let's break it down even further. It's just over $3 a day. Now, if you're going out to the local coffee shop and you're picking up breakfast and a coffee, that's your money right there. So If you're not saving anything, put a 0. If you're going to strive for it, then congratulations. And if you're just not there yet, keep watching these videos, because by the end, we're hoping that we're going to get you not only to your emergency fund, not only to your 3 to 6 months living expenses, but well on your way to investing for your American dreams. Now I'm going to give you a challenge. I know I've already given you a lot to do. Your homework is to create your budget. You want to look at what you've been spending in all these categories, because there's someone also asked, what about the things that you don't plan for? Well, everything that you spend money on should be planned for. So that's why doing a year's worth of, an analysis on where you're spending your money can be very helpful, because you can see just exactly those things that you forget to budget for, just exactly what they are. And always leave room and always round up. The next part of your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to take on your budget, either highlight or put a star next to any of the bills that could be negotiable, right? Like anything that you can negotiate, like your cell phone bill, your cable bill, internet bill, your car insurance, possibly your medical insurance, anything that you think that could be negotiable, I want you to either highlight it or put a star, something next to it. And then I want you to go look up their phone numbers, and I want you to make a call to every single one of them and find out if they're willing to do a deal with you. If it's you've lost your job due to the coronavirus, tell them, hey, I lost my job due to the coronavirus. I, can't really afford this bill. Find out what kind of deals they're willing to give you. One thing I've done is I'll call often, say my cable company, and I'll say, can you tell me when my contract's up? And they'll say, oh, you're not in a contract. I'm like, oh, I'm not? Okay. Yeah, because I really can't afford this service anymore. If that's the case, I don't lie. It's time to time that happens. I choose that I'm going to spend my money on something else, so I can't afford this expense in my life. And there's a couple options. Is 1, I can eliminate it altogether. 2, they can reduce the cost. Or 3, they'll give me more service for the same cost. So there are some options there, but in my experience, most of the companies that I call, they will negotiate with me. So I encourage you to call each one and just see how much you can save yourself by just making those phone calls. Now the last part that I'm going to encourage you to look at is going to be areas in which you might be able to save some money. So for example, maybe your electric bill, if you either turn up your air conditioner when you leave, or you turn off your heat when you leave, maybe you just start getting used to having the air conditioner higher and higher, a few degrees, maybe that can save you a little bit of money. What about gasoline? Are you taking unnecessary trips? Are you driving too often? Can you eliminate 1 or 2 trips a month? Can you consolidate trips? Really plan that out and see how much you can save there. Make it a priority to focus on saving in that area. Also, food. I talk about this a lot of times, and if you hear Dave Ramsey, he says beans and rice and beans, and sell everything that the kids think they're next. I don't think it's necessary that you're going to live off beans and rice, but can you create a food, not just the food budget, but can you create a menu where you can make your food last longer, freeze some of it, because maybe if you I make this huge pot of soup, but I'll get sick of it, believe it or not, before I finish it all, because it's that big of a pot. And that's with several people eating it. But I'll freeze some of it so that I'll have it for later. Pasta. I know some people don't have carbs, so you can do spaghetti squash. You can find other kinds of pastas, but pasta dishes, spaghetti, meatballs, things like that, those can last several meals. Maybe you want to do a chicken parmesan, but there are discount places where you can buy groceries at a discounted price, like an Aldi or something like that. So look at the places that you're spending money and just plan. Say, for me, I'm in Jupiter, Florida, so Publix is a primary grocery store here, and it's expensive. But I can say, okay, if I choose to shop there, how can I make this go further? Or can I choose to shop somewhere else where I can get a bigger bang for my buck? And it might be that I'm eating beans and rice and beans for a short amount of time in order to accomplish my goals. So that is the challenge this week. do your homework, to create your budget, to do an analysis on your spending for hopefully up to a year. So if you're going to take this challenge on, I encourage you to DM me if you're on social media, email me at jen@smartplaninvesting.com, and I'll be back soon with the next steps in helping you to really work out your budgeting. Like, okay, I've done this so many times, I've created a budget, but then how do I actually stick to it? Well, I'm going to share that very soon. Stay tuned.